Kilda.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr Speaker.
David Seymour.
Mr Speaker, it is Groundhog Members' Day on the Partnership School Kura Horua policy. For the third time in this parliamentary term, we are debating a bill drawn from the members' ballot, designed by the Labor Party to do nothing more than score cheap political points against partnership schools Kura Horua. First, it was about ensuring that teachers at partnership schools Kura Horua were registered with the Education Council, ignorant of the fact that practically every teacher at these schools is registered with the Education Council, and those exceptions that are allowed under the law are adding extraordinary value to the students, such as a retired Air Force engineer teaching engineering at Vanguard Military School. What is wrong with that? Mr Speaker, I'll very quickly cover the second bill in the series, which said abolish partnership schools in spite of their success. And then we come tonight to this bill that would apply the Official Information Act and the Ombudsman Act to partnership schools. And we've heard it again, just like every previous time, that one of these anti-partnership school political stunt bills has come up from the Labor Party, all of the misinformation from the Labor Party, and I have to ask, do they really just not care enough to find out the details of the debate, or are they actually not up to the task of understanding modern public policy? Because there's Nanaia Mahuta trotting out the same line that partnership schools are failed overseas. Well, what evidence does she have to reference for that? It can't be Stanford University's Centre for Research and Educational Outcomes, the most comprehensive study of charter schools anywhere in the world, showing that charter schools outperform public or state schools in the United States. It can't be from C.D. Howe in Canada, showing that charter schools outperform public schools in Alberta. It can't be from Sweden, where it's been shown that for poorer kids and kids whose parents have less educational attainment, partnership schools, or free schools as they call them, and particularly those that are allowed to make a profit, have got better outcomes. It can't be that. She said it's blind ideology, but if the evidence is all against the argument, then what else does the Labor Party have? And then we heard it again, the hoary old chestnut from the member, partnership schools are funded at a different rate. Well, really, I wonder how many times I have to come down to this House and explain the most simple matters of fact about this policy, that every school, whether it be state, whether it be partnership, whether it be a start-up integrated school, in its early years, when it is small, gets additional funding to get it started. But to compare a new school to an old school, a start-up school to a developed school at scale, and try to represent that as an indication of the type of funding that the school type gets, is frankly very, very close to misleading the people watching at home, because it's simply not true. We've heard that there are bonus payments to partnership schools. Well, the member clearly hasn't done her homework. Actually, it's the opposite. Partnership schools have 1% of their payments withheld. They actually have to perform to get all of their payment, which is the opposite of a bonus payment, but where there is not much hope of the Labor Party picking up those sorts of details. We've said that there's not comparable education performance. Well, Mr Speaker, there is some confusion around the way that we deal with participation-based rates and role-based or enrolment-based rates of passing in partnership schools versus state schools. But this was done precisely in order that we would be able to compare on a school-to-school level, something that was not possible with the existing state system. We heard that you're not allowed, that you're allowed to make a profit at a partnership school. Yes, Mr Speaker, the education system is riven with profit, whether it's the people that build the buildings, manufacture the computers, supply the textbooks. Actually, many people in education make a profit, and what is wrong with that? Mr Speaker, I'm now finished rebutting the falsehoods that we've heard so far, and it's taken up half my time because there are so many falsehoods on this policy from the Labor Party. But what of this particular bill that would apply the Official Information Act to partnership schools kura and bring them under the auspices of the Ombudsman Act for all activities rather than simply enrolments and expulsions, exclusions and suspensions. In other words, the process of entries of students and exits of students from the schools. What of this bill? First of all, Mr. Speaker, it is not necessary. Partnership schools already reveal more information and more performance data than any other type of school in the system. If you want quarterly reports of whether a school's finances are in shape, whether they're meeting their academic targets, if you want to be able to see how many exclusions and suspensions and expulsions schools had in a period of time every quarter, if you want annual reports with audited financial statements, then you don't need the OIA. All you need to do, Mr. Speaker, is go to the partnership school system of the Ministry of Education website, where we proactively release all of that information every single quarter for going on 3 years now, but still the Labour Party has not twigged. And if there was more information that was a part of this rigorous performance enforcement contract that these partnership schools have, then the Ministry of Education would have it. And here's news for the opposition. The Ministry of Education is subject to the Official Information Act. There is simply no need for this bill because partnership schools already reveal more information than any other type of school. And wasn't it telling that the only example that Nanaia Mahuta could come up with that she thought might reveal information found under the Official Information Act was to do with expulsions and exclusions and possibly enrolments. She said that potentially partnership schools would try to filter through their students in order to get better results, and that her bill would fix this by applying the Ombudsman Act to the expulsions and exclusions and suspensions of students at partnership schools. Well, Mr. Speaker, not only does Nanaia Mahuta not understand how partnership schools work, she doesn't understand how her own bill works. Because under this bill,
Point of order?
A point of order, but I will warn the member that she has to be very careful that she has a point of order and she's not just going to debate something. She does
I seek leave to table the Ombudsman's submission to the Education and Science Select Committee, which himself states that the issue of expulsions and suspension...
Member will resume her seat. The member doesn't interrupt a member's speech in order to attempt to table something. And the second point is that it's either currently publicly available as a submission, or it's not publicly available. And if it's not publicly available, the member shouldn't be trying to table it. David Seymour.
Mr. Speaker, if that is the true interpretation of the document the member was quoting, then why on earth does her bill in section 7 say delete when performing a stand-down, suspension, exclusion or expulsion function from the Ombudsman Act? Why would she want to do that if it wasn't for the fact that particular clause applies the Ombudsman Act to partnership schools when they're performing those functions? It is almost impossible to have a debate with these people, Mr. Speaker. They not only do they misunderstand the policy, but their own bill. Mr. Speaker, beyond that, you just have to ask yourself, well, maybe it wouldn't hurt. Maybe we should apply the Official Information Act to partnership schools, just to be sure that they're totally transparent. Maybe there's some information that could be garnered through the Official Information Act request that we haven't already made transparent through all of the disclosure that we do proactively. Maybe. Well, the reason that they're not in the bill is that the attitude of the Labour Party and their puppet masters and the teacher unions throughout the whole time this policy's been in place...
The member will resume his seat. The member knows that the term he just used is unparliamentary. He will withdraw it.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw it.
David Seymour.
Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is the negativity towards this policy, however it's been motivated, has been so relentless that we know that the only effect of putting these schools under the Official Information Act is that every school, small organisations set up to help kids by innovative educators, would be bombarded with vexatious Official Information Act requests that even ministerial officers with the force of a department behind them find challenging to process at the best of times, and that state schools almost never receive. Mr. Speaker, that's why it's not in the current Act. That's why this bill should not pass. But I just hope that one day we will live in a New Zealand where 8 small schools run by innovative educators can actually be held accountable for their failures, cherished for their successes, and met with an open mind instead of the relentless badgering and negativity that we've seen from the Labour Party tonight in the 3rd bill in this parliamentary term designed to sabotage them by political stunt. I proudly oppose this bill, and I look forward to voting it down with my parliamentary colleagues later tonight. Thank you.